So, welcome everybody. This is the start of conversations that I am having with wonderful people that I've met since going through my divorce, which started at the end of 2014. And in that time, I've had to dig deep and face my fears, step outside my comfort zone, which I've done on tumultuous amount of occasions, so that I could get on with living my best life and finding contentment again. And it's not been an easy journey, and I'd be lying if I said it had, but it's been a very interesting pathway. And along that path, through my job now, networking, I've met some incredible people, especially women that have faced adversity and come out the other side with copious amounts of strength, and they have lifted me as I've gone along the road or the route to recovery. So one of those special ladies that I've met is Gina. And so I'd like to introduce you to Gina, and for Gina to tell us how it came to be that we are here today on this webinar. So Gina, lovely to have you here.
Oh, Paula, it's absolutely delightful to be here, and I'm so happy and excited that we've got this collaboration going, because for me, having a strong network of strong female friends has been a lifesaver for me in my journey. Like you said, you've been divorced, so have I, and we'll save that for later. So I met Paula in lockdown, I think it was, wasn't it?
It was.
It must have been,
yes,
because
yes.
Yeah. So when I say I met Paula in lockdown, it's all right. We weren't being naughty. No, it was online, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
We were networking online, and I was drawn immediately to Paula's lovely personality and how she speaks about helping people through difficult things in their relationship. And the fact that she was also, a relationship and divorce coach was very interesting to me, because I can't get away from it, because my husband actually left me in lockdown as well, after 40 odd years of marriage. And so I was kind of when I met Paula at one of the networking events, I just was very drawn, as I said, to her warm personality, and I could feel that she could help me put a bit of perspective on where I was in my life, and kind of help me to move forward with everything, because I was determined from the beginning not to be a victim, because you can choose, can't you?
Oh,
you can choose to be a victim.
You can be a victim with a capital V. But yeah, as I say to my clients, it's about being the creator of your life. You can stay, the wounded party, and I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that people shouldn't wallow, because depending on their divorce
the
story,
level of trauma, I think.
Yes,
yeah. And the level of, I mean, it's
knocks you back.
So individual, isn't it? So individual.
Yes, yeah. And what's a common theme here is the link between relationships breaking up and the pandemic, because we were thrown together 24/7 with our husband wives partners, which isn't healthy,
normal.
No to be in somebody's personal space for that amount of time is tricky, and the result of it all is that there's a lot of people that have found that they can't continue with their relationship. So Gina, tell us more about what happened, if you're okay to share.
Yes, of course. Yes, it's just over 3 years ago now. So, and I know we're going to be talking about this in the next episode, because I know that we've talked about this as well, haven't we? Like when you've had a trauma or a wound, an emotional trauma or a wound, you can't really talk about it. Well, you can talk about it, but you can't. I wouldn't have been able to talk about it like this 2 years ago. Certainly
Yeah.
not 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Certainly not a year ago. It's only been in the last 6 months, I think, that I've actually felt able to share my story. And that's because the wound has healed over. So it's there because it never goes away, but I can cope with it now. And it doesn't make me, talking and thinking about what happened doesn't actually throw me back into that awful trauma situation.
That's such a valid point, because whenever you talk about it, it does start to trigger you and can take people with their emotions right back to where they've come from. They feel like they're doing the work, they're healing, then something can trigger them, and like you said, you go straight back, and then that affects your mood, your vibe, and then you feel like you have to start all over again. So that is a really crucial point about how we can actually start to, make a note of how many times we're telling our story. And I mean, I know from my own personal point of view, anybody that would listen, I was so heartbroken, and I needed to talk, to get it out there, and to share with people exactly what was going on, because I was confused and traumatized by the whole event. So but like you said, you've done a lot of the work, a lot of healing.
A lot.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think, and I don't think you can. Well, personally for me, I wouldn't be the person I am today if I hadn't done that healing. Because if I hadn't done the healing and the work and understanding what was going on and finding out how I could help myself, and then doing the work, because there's no point being a perpetual student. You've actually got to do the do.
Yes.
You've got to take the action. You've got to do whatever it is that you need, because it's different for everybody. But I think I'm quite fortunate. I'm not going to say lucky, because I don't like that word. I'm quite fortunate in that I am quite a pragmatic person, and I've never been a victim, never wallowed in the victimhood that I could have done. Because if I told you, Mike, oh my God, I'm going to write a book one day. I am. But
me too.
We've all got a lot of stuff, haven't we? We've all got a lot of stuff, and it isn't really in life. It isn't what stuff happens to us. It's how we deal with the stuff.
Yes, and that leads nicely into one of my colleagues put something up, a quote. Let's see if I can find it to share, because I think this is really poignant. So it says, "Is suffering really necessary? Yes and no. If you had not suffered as you have, there would be no depth to you as a human being, no humility, no compassion. You would not be reading this now. Suffering cracks open the shell of ego, and then comes a point when it has served its purpose. Suffering is necessary until you realize it is unnecessary." And that's by Eckhart Tolle. And it's so true. And that to me is what I've gleaned or taken from meeting people such as you, Gina, and lots of other, mainly women, I must say, who are happy to share their experience. I've spoken to a head teacher. She had burnout, and she realized that she had to take back control of her life in some way. She gave up being a head teacher, and found a new holistic path you know, she's just one out of many.
I know that it's so wonderful, isn't it, when you meet all these inspiring and amazing women? It just makes you feel really. I'm just so proud to be a woman and to be alive now and to be able to access, because of the internet and the way we live our lives, all these amazing people who so can mold us in so many ways that we don't even know is happening. It's just by being with that level of person.
Yes, yeah, it's the one thing that's come out of all this as well is the support. You know, all these women that, you know, get in touch. If you don't ever be alone, you know, because we're solo entrepreneurs, aren't we? We're just working behind a screen every day, talking to people, but we're in our own isolated environment. So to have someone say, you know, are you struggling? Are you struggling personally? Are you struggling with your business? I'm here. Let me know. That speaks volumes to me, or has done. And actually, it means that you don't have to necessarily reach out to those people that aren't really interested. You know, there's those people that close the door on you.
They're not your tribe. And they might be your tribe at some stage, because they might not be ready yet. Because we're all on a path, we're all on a journey, and you mustn't compare yourself to me if you've got divorced, or if your husband left you yesterday. Because I'm 3 years down my path, and you're one day on your path. So do not compare yourself to me or to you.
That's right.
We are further along.
And
we're all on different paths.
And you know, something I've learned is that there are people that are empaths, people that are highly sensitive, very sensitive to emotion. To, you know, they watch a film or you know, something on the news, and they find themselves getting quite upset about it, because they take on that emotion, they put themselves there. So there are people like that, and there are people that are, you know, it's water off a duck's back. They can, outwardly anyway, they can, you know, rub it off. And there are different divorce stories. There are those,
oh my God,
who come to the end of a relationship because together they realize that there's no fire anymore, and they sensibly, maturely decide that they're going to go their separate ways. And then they speak about finances, and it's all done and dusted, and it's quite straightforward. Sadly, there aren't many relationships that come to an end in quite that way. And
well, I think because, can I just say, I think the important thing that you said there was they came to that decision together.
Yes.
Because often one person comes to that decision, and the other person, then that's actually what happened to me. One person comes to the decision that that's it. We've grown apart, which is exactly what my husband said to me when he left me. And I was not there. But now, and I know you know this, but I don't say David left me now. I say David set me free.
Yes, and that
is my mindset. And so that's exactly right, what you're saying.
And also set you free, Gina, but also he's the agent to your transformation.
Oh my God, I love that. Oh, I'm going to write that down.
Because you have transformed. Yes, and that is the message that I like to get out there to my clients and to anybody going through a traumatic, because divorce is traumatic, is that you might not see it right now if you're at the beginning of your journey.
If anybody had said that to me, at the beginning, I would have cried, and I probably would have, I might even have got very cross with them.
Yes.
Because that's not what I needed to hear then.
No.
You know, do you know what? Like divorce, like any trauma, it's a bereavement. Mm-hmm. And you go through stages, and that's the thing, isn't it? You need to, and that's the thing about being a victim. If you choose, because it is a choice, if you choose to stay in victimhood, that's fine, but you're not actually probably going to ever let go of that trauma, and it's going to color everything you do, and your life will not be as rich or full or gorgeous as it should be.
Yeah,
just won't.
It's an opportunity to evolve.
And
but you have to get to a point where you realize that, and that's
Yes,
the,
yes.
like you
I
said,
mean,
that's the
I think we
grief
keep saying, don't
cycle.
we? Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. There's stages of everything, aren't there? And I hope that we're making that clear, and we're not saying, "Oh, God, you know, pick yourself up, dot yourself off, and
No,
why are you
not at
cross?"
all.
That's not
Yeah,
it at
yeah.
all.
I mean, our hands
Not
up,
ever.
if you know, to talk about my own personal circumstances and my own personal story, which we will cover over the episodes of this when Gina met Polly, is that I certainly was at rock bottom in my life at the outset, and I'd say that went on for a couple of years, and I'm still triggered to this day by certain things that happen. So I'm not sitting here all holier than thou saying, you know, oh, you know, not at all. It's a tough process, and it's not you don't get a handbook as to how you know, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, oh, you're fine now. Life isn't like that. It doesn't work like that. So Gina, please, for all our listeners, can you expand on, you know, a little bit of your story, and how long you've been married, and what was the catalyst
what was
for
the catalyst? Well, it's interesting because you know, I actually consider myself to be extremely fortunate again, because I met David, my husband, when I was 20 and he was 22, and we got married when I was 22 and he was 24, so we were very young, and we literally grew together. We grew up together. He was a chef when I met him, and I was, you know, worked in an office. So, and we always knew that we wanted our own restaurants. We wanted to work together, and we did achieve that. We actually had 4 restaurants over a span of 25 years, in different places, and I absolutely adored that life. I loved it. I loved him. I loved my life. We travelled. We didn't have children. I definitely didn't want children, and I think he was fine with that. If he'd been with someone who wanted children, he'd have probably had them, but I didn't want them, so that was perfectly fine. And I have never wavered from that. It's just not in me, you know, and it isn't in everybody.
No, that's right.
You know, and we had, when we had the restaurants, we always had lots of staff, and they were quite young, so that was my nurturing bit, you know. I kind of looked after them, and it was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. On the surface, lots and lots of things were going on underneath, of course, but still, I would. So, and on our 20th wedding anniversary, he had a nervous breakdown, and couldn't get out of bed, couldn't speak, got the doctor out, and then he went in hospital, the psychiatric wing of the hospital in Guernsey where we were living, and he was diagnosed with bipolar and alcohol addiction.
Wow.
What?
And did you ever suspect he had bipolar in your...
No, I didn't even, I don't think I even knew what it was. I don't think I'd ever heard of it, to be honest. I think I might have heard of manic depression, which it's kind of is, but they've changed the name of it. So I think manic depression is better, because it's bipolar. What does that mean? But anyway, so then we did manage to stay with the restaurants for about another year or 2, 3. I think we had the last one when he was diagnosed, but it couldn't, you know, he wasn't able to do what he did before. So so then we came and lived in England, and so then for the next 20 years I was his carer, really. He had bipolar. He gave up drinking 3 times in our marriage, and relapsed. The 3rd one was when he left me. So I think now that he wasn't just leaving, he was walking away from me, but towards the alcohol. That's I've worked that out, and my friends all said that, kind of said they knew that from the beginning. And well, really, you can't see these things.
No, of course you don't. Not when you're in the thick of it. You can't.
No. So we I was really happy with him. I was still really happy with David. He was literally the love of my life, my soulmate. He made me laugh. We made each other laugh. We were each other's best friend. We were everything that you need. You tick all the boxes for a happy marriage. We had it. Literally, we did. And we did have and the day he left me, he said, "We've had a wonderful 40-year marriage."
Which makes it, I think that's even more painful.
Well, you know, either or, really, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like, And for me, that was when I realized I could not allow myself to slip into victim mode, even for a minute, really, because if I had, then that would have meant that 40 years of my life were devalued
Yes. Yeah.
and tainted, and I was not prepared to do that.
That
So
takes a lot of strength, Gina. That takes a lot of strength.
well, it did,
Because
and
I'm
it's
sure you were questioning, well, if this has been so wonderful and you have been, you know, an important person in his life to make it wonderful, why would he want to turn his back on that?
well, see, there are well, the reasons were, and because I honestly, I had no, I can tell this story now because of, like we said, about the trauma and the open wound. Well, this is
Yes.
healed over now. So the day he left me, so he'd had bipolar for 20 years, and I was always helping him to be his best self. Not that he really wanted me to, but I wanted him to, because I wanted him to be as healthy as he could be, and that fitted in with my lifestyle and my choices that I made for my business and everything like that. We can come to that later. So I met someone networking, as you do, online, as you do, like I met you, and she did this thing called it's called Old Pain 2 Letter to Go. And she was talking about it, and I thought, and it seemed like it could help with all sorts of things, and you didn't really need to do much work. Now, see, this was key for David, because he was one of these people that wanted a magic pill.
Yes.
Wanted a magic pill to make him better, and he wasn't really prepared to kind of look at his diet, and he only did that because I made him, and he wasn't, like all that stuff that I could see that if he did it, it would, he
didn't want to put the effort in to resolve.
No. He didn't want to have to do any work.
Yeah.
Whereas me, I'm very proactive, and if there's something I can do to help me or someone I love,
help yourself.
I will look into it. And anyway, so I looked into this and said to him, "What do you think?" So he had a kind of introduction with her, and then he had a 3-hour conversation on Zoom, because it was still in lockdown, and she was miles away. And she said she thought it might take 2 sessions. So we had another session, and oh my God, it was like a switch, Paula. I'm not kidding. It was like, my David has come back, because we used to laugh. Well, used to joke, because that's the way I coped with it all, with joking, and because I've got a lot of sense of humor, and that's the only way I can deal with it. I know
you have.
Yeah. But we used to joke that he was his older brother would come along, and he'd be the one that was depressed for weeks at a time, and then switch would go, David's back, yay, oh my God, and I loved him so much when he was like that. It was like worth it to wait, and nobody really understands that, but it's true. That's how it was. And of course, I had my business and my friends as well, because I had to have something for me, so I'd already got that in place before he left, thank God.
Yes. Yeah,
thank God. So that's where we were. So then we had a month where he was feeling really well, and I was thinking, oh my God, this is it, our life's going to change, we're going to go on holiday, we're going to be able to, like, we're going to know that we can do things, because with bipolar you never know how you're going to feel. So it was like, can you come out and play on like Thursday? Well, I don't know, probably not. So I used to go on my own. I did, because even then he didn't, and he wasn't well enough. So I had the most wonderful month, I really did. And that month was the month that he realized he was well enough to realize he didn't want this life with me anymore.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But he wasn't well enough before that. Because we used to rate his moods on a daily basis, because that actually helped quite a lot.
It's like a scale. Yeah.
So from 1 to 1 was like rock bottom, doesn't want to get out of bed, not going to speak to you. Absolute bleh. 5 was like normal, really, but for him it was like, oh my God, so he could bump along at 1 for 2 weeks, literally. So like, I am living with the shell.
Yes.
Nobody home, so you just get on, you do it, and then that eventually it's gonna, and it will, because it does, and then the switch clicks and he's back. And so it's only in those short spaces of his back that he's able to think cognitively enough that he's actually not very happy. And then he goes down again.
Yes.
And when he's down, that's it. He can't think of anything. So this treatment that we paid £160 for, so I paid for my husband to leave me.
But you
Plenty
know,
work though.
the thing is, the way you can look at it is the fact that he could have just gone on and on. So
Yeah.
your life would have been
More of the same. And
his
actually
carer
now,
and
yeah,
not living your life. So
yeah.
this was, and you know, maybe he realized that.
Do you know, people
Maybe
have
he
said,
thought it was holding you back. I don't know, because I think a lot of people in relationships, the reason the relationship breaks down is because the person, one of the couple, is unhappy, and they look outside of themselves to find out the reasons why they're unhappy. So the obvious one to them is who they're living with. So, like you said, he didn't really go out there and do the work, but he just looked at you and
because
thought, well, I'm
changed.
unhappy.
I've changed, you see. That's exactly what you said. You've changed. Yeah, we've been married 40 years. We've been together 42 years. I'm not bloody 22 anymore. And he
Yeah.
changed as well. But what he
Yes.
meant was I was on a personal growth journey, which I was, and he wasn't.
Yeah. Well,
And he
people
didn't
don't
want to.
change unless they actually do the work on themselves, you know. People are, to the core, they are who they are. You know, you're still that bubbly,
Yeah.
you know, kind, considerate, thoughtful lady who was wanting to support her husband. You know, that hadn't changed. The core of you hadn't changed. Your ideals might have changed. You know, all of a sudden you're finding something for you because you knew you had to do that to not go down with him.
Exactly.
You know,
He was there's drainers and what they call drainers and radiators. Is that what
yeah,
it is?
that's it.
Yeah, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
Radiate energy, drain your energy, and he was
Yes.
definitely a drainer.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So you were going out, you were trying to find things to radiate your energy, to keep yourself up, so then you could be even more supportive to him.
Yeah.
But you see, this is what happens a lot, and that's a important message. If people are unhappy, they want to blame their marriage. They want to blame somebody, something, rather than actually thinking, well, let's look inward. Why am I behaving like this? What is it? What's the root cause of this?
And because we are the author of our own happiness.
Yes.
Happiness comes from within. Nobody
Yeah.
or anything can or will ever make us happy.
Yeah. Do you know, that's a really important point, because when I started on my divorce journey, like I said, the story behind my divorce is pretty shocking. And I was desperate. I just, you know, anyway, somebody who I worked with gave me a book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Sue Jeffers. Okay. Now that came to me at just the right time. You know, if you believe in the universe, and that was sent to me. Now I read the book, but there was one part that two parts that particularly stuck in my head. First of all, it's to tell yourself that you can handle anything. So when you're feeling frightened, fearful of fear of the unknown, it can stop you from doing things, because it's easier to say no than to say yes.
Stay in your comfort zone. Stay in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And wonderful stuff happens when you step out of your comfort
zone. Exactly. So the mantra from Sue Jeffers' book is, you can handle it, you can handle it. And I had that. Every time I hit a wall and I was fearful about a situation, I would think, you can handle it, Paula. But the other part of the book was a story about two women, and they both were widows. They lost their husbands around the same time. One woman dressed in black and continued to dress in black moving forward, and she was bitter. She was angry. How could he leave her at such a time? You know, and she would talk to whoever she saw about it, moan, moan, moan. And at first, everyone was there for her because she was grieving. But as time went on, they started to fall by the wayside. So she really didn't have a good group of friends, and she, just stayed stuck. Whereas the other lady, she picked herself up after the grieving process. She then got herself a job. And in that job, she went up the career ladder. I mean, these were older ladies, but she managed to move on to improve her lifestyle. Then at a conference, she met what is now her husband, and who is now her husband, should I say, and flying high. So there's two different attitudes there.
And those women chose those attitudes.
Yes.
Nobody made them.
No, that's so right, Gina. It's choice. Yeah. And I'm not saying, I'm sure I cheesed off lots of people when I was going through my divorce, you know, by talking about it. Well, I know so through things that have happened since. But you know, when you're at your lowest ebb, that's when people who are dear to you rally round, and but they don't, you know, they don't hold it against you.
No.
You wouldn't hold it
as long
against
as you
someone.
stop it at a sensible, you know, you don't like the lady in black.
Yes, yeah, you know,
that's why she ended up with no friends, because she hadn't even slightly moved on. That makes me have the heebie-jeebies, the thought of that.
yes,
really.
Yeah, the fact that now look what you're doing, and you mean how many times, Gina, have we met over the years, what, since 2020, and now look, we're talking today, and putting this together. So anyway, so your story, there's more to tell. I know there's more to tell, but we're coming to the end of today's chat. So I'd like to tell people that they can get in contact with yourself, Gina, and myself, or both of us together. So I shall put our links in the chat below, and we'll be back on here. We're popping back on here in 2 weeks' time, when we're going to be talking about trauma. Continuing on from today, the trauma, the wound, and how we forgive, which is not easy at all. So thanks so much, Gina, and I look forward to catching up with you again in a couple of weeks' time.
Absolutely. Absolute pleasure and privilege to be talking to you about this. I think it's a really important subject, and I hope some ladies get some insight from things that we're saying.
I hope so.
That would be so wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.